In the previous chapter, we saw the drunkard defy his sect's rules to protect a kingdom under attack, only to be forced back and separated from the woman he cared for forever. Let's begin the chapter. A tear traced Yongning's cheek as she asked, "Did something happen to her?" Zhuo Fan, with a hint of amusement in his voice, thought, "Girl, you really have read too many stories." Then the drunkard began, his voice a low rumble of sorrow and anger, a heavy weight of the past pressing down on every word. With me gone, the masterminds enacted their real plan. They began by harassing the border, creating chaos, and then a group made contact with the princess. They enticed her, a sweet-talking snake, into moving the defense 1,000 miles inward, to a mountain range they said would make it easier to defend. This way, they claimed, both sides' people would be spared. She fell for it, completely fooled by their deceit. By stealing the emperor's seal, that sacred symbol of power, she signed a ceding agreement, a pact with the devil. And the enemy, like vultures, used it to force the defending general to draw back, seizing that rich stretch of land, leaving it bare. By the time the emperor found out the magnitude of this betrayal, it was far, far too late. The sects, those self-righteous guardians of the empire, were outraged, fanning the flames of the population's fury, calling for the royal family to abdicate and condemning the princess to execution, branding her a traitor. The news reached me in the last hour, a whisper too late to act. I arrived only to see her lifeless body, and could only hear the mob's accusations and mockeries, piercing my heart with their venom. Zhuo Fan's voice, sharp as a blade, cut through the air. They were clearly plotting against the stupid. The drunkard's face twitched, a muscle jumping in his jaw as anger and grief fought for control. Zhuo Fan hesitated, then added, "Well, Princess Senior, this might not be my place to say this, but if it were me," his tone shifting to a sly smile, "I'd slaughter a bunch of them, make a bloody example of them, to put the fear of me in their hearts and let them know she was under my wing. At worst, I'd get punished by the sect, but the result would be dramatically different. Once they saw that no rules will hold you back, they'll never make a move against the princess again. But by obeying the sect's orders like a good child, they acted regardless of how strong you were. Since the sect's rules bound you, you could do nothing. And even if you tried, they'd just rat you out to Double Dragon Manor. All you had to do was go berserk from the start," the drunkard whispered, his voice thick with raw regret. "I regretted it so much, not being a demonic cultivator back then. Having your recklessness, she would have still been alive." His teeth began to grind, energy surged from his body, the air around him crackling. "But I knew it was all too late, bound by those righteous rules while those bastards clapped in joy." Zhuo Fan thought, a note of alarm creeping into his mind. "Damn, don't go crazy on me," Yongning asked, her eyes wide with concern and curiosity. "So what happened? What did you do?" Zhuo Fan groaned inwardly. "I want to throw you out." The drunkard turned, his face a mask of heavy grief. "Then I rushed to the enemy nation, slaughtering the royal family, their screams echoing in the night, and I killed my way through its guardian sect, their blood staining the earth. I threw their nameplate into a bonfire, watching their legacy burn to ashes." Zhuo Fan laughed, a harsh, mirthless sound. "That's great." But all he received in response was a sigh, a heavy breath of sorrow, followed by a dark and brooding expression. "Boy, you'd be better off removed from this world. You'll sooner or later plunge it into hell." "Ugh," Zhuo Fan jerked, his mouth curled in disdain. "At least I haven't killed anyone in my life." Both girls laughed, the sound light against the heavy atmosphere. Then the drunkard smiled, a faint flicker of amusement, pointing at his chest. "Boy, you're tough, shrewd, and brave. The only downside is your heart's unsteady, a wild flame, easy to ignite. Then again, which demonic cultivator ever had a firm heart? I've hardly seen any, even among the so-called righteous cultivators. Not even myself have one. Ha ha ha. With a self-deprecating smile, he continued. The mess I caused then forced Double Dragon Manor to come after me. But who do they take me for? To just fall like that? While the first time I came to receive the sect's punishment willingly, this time I was in too much pain, too filled with rage to care about anything. I saw the whole world as my enemy, and when I returned to the sect, I killed anyone in sight. Whichever of the 10 sects of the Western lands I set foot on, all were left in chaos and burning. It was a warning, a message carved in blood and fire, to never try to use their rules on me, to leave me the hell alone. But what was the point? Just a tantrum, a desperate scream against the void, since she didn't come back. The drunkard shouted, his voice raw, his eyes bloodshot and wild. Yet he shook his head in the end, defeat creeping into his tone. I was only after one sect at first, but the rage, like a parasite, consumed me. I targeted all of them, like a true madman. So close to losing myself entirely. Zhuofan's heart sank, a chilling feeling spreading through him, his eyes darting around, searching for an answer. Why did that sound so familiar? Where had he heard it before? With a gulp of wine, the drunkard laughed again, a harsh, hollow sound. I was this close to losing my mind in the madness, to let my demon control me, to become the very thing they feared. Yongning, her eyes wide like a child listening to a bedtime story, asked with genuine curiosity, "How did you crawl back?" She was eager to hear the rest. The drunkard smirked, finding the audience pleasing. I have to thank her for that. Taken over by madness as I was, I stumbled upon her lady-in-waiting, bringing me her will, a final message from beyond the grave. After reading the letter, I realized, with a sickening lurch, that she hadn't been fooled at all. She knew it all. Along that, it was a trap, a spider's web spun with deceit. She knew it was the enemy's scheme, and that it would ruin her clan. But she also knew if the land was turned over to the enemy, the people would not suffer. Whether the proposal was right or wrong, it all came down to the ruler's judgment, to the choices they made, the responsibility they shouldered. It brought me back to the time we talked about our dreams, of peace on earth, a silly, childish dream we held close to our hearts. But how many could achieve it? How many could build a better world when righteous cultivators hide behind justice, when they take all they can? Where in fact, all they had were demons. And do I need to say anything about demonic cultivators? You said Double Dragon Manor protects Western lands' peace, while I say it has no moral compass behind it, making it just another cesspool of greed and power plays. Little girl, you said that she ceded her land to the enemy. But without righteousness, the Western land is still filthy. Is it wrong? Yongning paused, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. As long as the people had a better life afterward, aren't empires supposed to protect the people? Ha ha ha. How clever you are. The drunkard laughed, a genuine laugh this. Time, tinged with sadness. Only caring about the common good, you're just as foolish as her, yet smarter than all the others. The true fool here is none other than me. The identity of the drunkard is about to be revealed in the next chapter.